Right. So, I mean, the way Mo Preem described it was they went down there, they were a little bit late, and then your brother was giving him a hard time over being late, and an argument ensued, and Pac basically went out to the car and said, fuck this movie.
No, that's not, I don't know.
Well, you weren't there. When
I was prepping in the next room.
Okay.
Like I'm doing the shot list, doing production designer, cinematographers, all that bullshit, right? What I do know happened is, as Allen accurately described it, was Tupac's a big personality and he likes to entertain. He's an entertainer. He's a performer, right? You get any of those guys in a room full of people, they want to perform. Allen's trying to get through a rehearsal. Tupac is performing. Okay. And everybody's laughing. And as Allen described to you, the next day he told them not to laugh. Tupac smelled something was off, and then it escalated. The part that Allen didn't tell was, and by the way, we have to be fair to both Tupac and my brother here, okay? One is gone and is a legend, okay? And you have to be very careful talking because there's 3 types of Tupac fans. Here it comes. Here it comes. And look at the comment section right below here, okay? There's the casual hip-hop fan that loves his music. There's the hardcore Tupac fan. And there's the stans who have nothing better to do than to be typing right below me right now some crazy shit that they don't know anything about, right?
Well, no, people have actually said in emails and DMs that they look at Pac as a religious figure, almost like a Jesus Christ in a way. Yeah. And if you look at his impact in the murals around the world, you will be hard-pressed to find any rapper who has as many murals in his worship to the extent of a Tupac.
Who else? Like Nipsey's getting close in L.A.
In L.A.
Yeah, in L.A.
But not worldwide like this.
No.
It just is what it is.
Well, because he's the James Dean of rap. You know, he went too early. He was iconic.
Yes.
He had all those attributes that everybody thinks, and it's true, that were great.
Right. And he had the social justice aspect of his music, and like a Bob Marley.
But he was human.
Yes.
But he was human. And I'm talking to those stands right now. Okay. He was human.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, there's a very famous quote. I don't know where it came from. It's like, at what point is it a bad person doing a good thing or a good person doing a bad thing? Okay. I think he was a good person who did a few bad things. He's human. Get over it, stands. Okay. And there's people who were there that saw the story firsthand. Okay.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to disrespect anybody's version of the story, but you know how it goes. There's just different perspectives. What I do remember, and why Allen was being very respectful, is because he did Dear Mama, and which is a love letter to a friend. Because we had all squashed it. We're fine, you know. It's these people down here. As the one story he didn't tell is they went to the next room. They got into it verbally, right? And Tupac was kind of approaching the desk, but that's normal. He just being loud. And so my brother stood up, right? And when my brother stood up, Tupac was like, call my fucking manager, and left the room, right? Now you have to understand the history of my brother too. My brother was always the guy when we were kids that would finally stand up to the bully, okay? Not that Tupac was bullying him that day. He wasn't, okay? But when push comes to shove, my brother will get up. It doesn't mean that he has hands. It doesn't mean he's a boxer. It doesn't mean anything, but he's willing to fight. Now, when we were kids, I got punked once. And he went back and took care of that bully, right? He took care of the bully in middle school. He took care of the bully in high school. He took care of the bully in grade school. That was my brother. He was a man about it, you know? So when he says, call my manager, that night was the Glenn Ross premiere. You remember that movie?
Yeah, I saw the play.
That was a New Line movie, right? Bob Shea's the head of New Line. My brother wanted it to work out. So he goes up to Bob Shea at the premiere and says, hey, we got a problem. He runs out X, Y, and Z. Bob Shea's the one that goes, fire him. There's no discussion.
Wow.
He doesn't say, well, let's talk. He just looks at everyone and says, fire him. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, fire him. So my brother has to call Atron because Tupac won't take my brother's calls. And the whole thing, now in hindsight, you look at everything, it broke on MTV News. And as a young man in Tupac's position, of course, that's a fucked up way. He knew before it broke on MTV, but that's no way we're not men yet. And now you can understand how he feels. But the truth is about the careers. I'm about the career path of Tupac and the career path of us. Is like it was meant to be. The movie was meant to be the way it was. His albums were meant to be the way they were. Mm-hmm. We didn't get in the way of each other.
Yeah, and to be fair, the Sharif character was a very minor character.
He was too big for it. He was too big for it.
The way
it would have been weird.
He was too big. You're right, because it's like, I mean, no offense to the actor who played Sharif. You know,
Vontae Sweet, who was great. Yeah,
you know, no offense to him, but when you look at that film, when you look at the memorable roles, the memorable scenes, no one really talks about the Sharif scene of him. You know. With the dying body.
You're not getting me on camera.
You know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. It just is what it is. And you're right. It just wasn't a very big role. There was no backstory to it. And Pac being in that role would have been a little weird considering the stature of Pac.
I think it would have stood out. Like everybody, like, what is he doing? Why is he in there?
Yeah.
You know, but we had a goal, and nobody was getting in the way of us achieving that movie. Like, we were hard-headed. We were stubborn. He was hard-headed. He was stubborn. And it wasn't in the cards, you know. It's like it worked itself out in a way, you know. Yeah. Like I said, we all thought whatever the motivations were back then. I don't believe that. I believe that it was the film gods and the music gods going, no, this is not good.